blind spot the whole way, get in to the back, and then you have access to the business manager's office without ever be seen on camera. So that will fix that blind spot. So those were the main points. I believe there's another one over outside the egg room too, to kind of protect the egg room because there's a blind spot by the egg room. Anyway, we received the grant. It's money in, money out. It's just approving. I wanted you guys to know that it got approved and that
you're take care of 100%.
Yeah, it's 100% covered. It was I used Tammy Rourke in Pheasant. Went through her safety grant.
And what's at the grade school?
In this?
Yeah.
There was no quote for the grade school. That would be a different grant I'm working on.
It has elementary on it.
Oh, did you?
Because that's what you had said before, is there was nothing for the elementary school, but it's actually more dollars to the elementary school, which I understand there's blind spots there, so that's good, but I'm
So is
confused.
it going to cover all of it then? Because that would be.
Well, if he's revamping, he never went with me. He never went over to the elementary school. He did walk around there, I guess. So if he's adding more into the grade school, that would be part of it too. So there's be blind spots in the grade school too that he's found.
Okay. I would need a motion to accept this.
I'll make the motion to accept this.
Okay, second?
Second.
All right. Probably move the second that we approve this building committee recommendation of a new vision grant quote. Any discussion? More discussion?
I like upgrades and better security for free.
Okay. Okay. Good questions I would ask. Make sure we're all on the same page here. Okay, any more? Discussion, discussion, discussion. All those in favor then, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Then if you look at, Dan handed you, we forgot to put the minutes or dismissed that, of the executive session on January 15th of 2025. I would entertain a motion to accept the executive session minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept the executive session minutes of January 15th.
Second.
Second.
Okay. I think we can discuss this. So discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Then we're going to go Vanessa's request. We're going to talk about the Be Legendary Committee, community outreach. Okay. So let's have some discussion.
Well, I mean, first of all, there is no committee, but so I didn't even think about this until we had the minutes for the Lions one, but I mean, when I asked about it before, you guys said Spencer and Colette were going, so if there's a committee, we need to have a committee, and if there's 2 people going, we need to do the meeting notice and stuff, because
Yeah,
She said it wasn't a committee, it was just ad hoc.
Well, the ones that we've both been to, we have minutes for. I wasn't able to go to.
this is the first one we've had minutes.
The Lions Club, they like
The other 2 I wasn't able
he's
to.
on the Lions Club, and they showed up to talk about their goals. So we just put minutes out there to make sure that
Yeah,
it
we
was.
didn't realize Wade was going to.
Right, but it doesn't matter if there's a third one.
I wasn't talking. I was way in the back.
Well,
Right, I know that, but.
Yeah, they're the third one. They're thinking, the potential corn business type of thing. So, but the other 2, like the one that you went, like it was just I wasn't able to go to any of the other ones anyways. So, I don't think.
The CDMA, we didn't. He was. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but so like for that one and the Lions, I assumed there would be some level of minutes, but then the other 2 or whatever, I wasn't able to.
We asked her, and she said, well, it wasn't that it was a committee, it was just that who wanted to do it, just to talk about, explain what we're doing. Some people were asking when they see it on video, like, what is Be Legendary, what are we doing? That's all. We didn't even, other than reading goals, we didn't read anything else, because we didn't have anything else to say.
Okay, but here's the deal. If that's how this works, is that 2 people need whether it's a committee or not, we have to stay consistent.
Right, if it was an appointed committee, because we asked, and she said, well, it's not an appointed committee, it was just volunteered to go do it, and like I said, I did 2 of them. So, but we can't, we won't be doing any more now.
We're done with it now.
Yeah.
We do have the
She
benefit of the
recommended
district
maybe again
attorney
in the
sitting
fall
here.
once
We had
we
to
have
ask her,
some more
if we wanted to
of
ask her her opinion.
Jump in after if you want to ask me. This committee isn't making any decisions or recommendations to the board. It's just going to give information to the public or other outside groups.
Right.
Talking about the goals they just talked about.
Okay, you don't need to form a board committee for that, you can if you want to. If a quorum of the board does show up, it's not ideal because, you know, you are technically discussing public school business at that meeting. And so there's potential notice and meeting issues there of a board, not a committee. So you guys should probably talk beforehand and say either we're going to call this a board meeting and notice it, or we're gonna have less than a quorum if we don't want it to be a board meeting or a committee.
Yeah, we never decided, but I know you reopened the door and you went, oh, wait.
Yeah, I didn't think about, but I didn't say it once.
I probably could have, I could have taken a napkin and put it on the front door or something and noticed it, but I didn't.
Oh. Yeah, but otherwise, yeah, it was
Just
just,
for future reference.
Okay. Are we good with that?
I mean,
Or would you like to have something?
I am
Oh.
fine with that, but that being said,
Okay.
then I think we should have two board members interviewing the principals.
Okay. Marcia wants to talk about the community engagement committee.
Yes, so we talked about community engagement, and thank you for your legal support here because I completely agree with everything what she said. We have an ad hoc committee for community engagement. It's not it's not a quorum, and it is the duty of the ad hoc committee to identify local organizations, identify and support the discussions that they're going to have, the materials that they're going to use, the script that they're going to use, and the schedule that they're going to go to. And the schedule only allows 2 board members to go at a time. So that should alleviate that quorum issue. And as this committee does their work, they will be bringing their recommendations and information back to the board as an update as you start getting ready to go out and do those discussions. I think that, again, an excellent question and an excellent observation that as we work with the community engagement committee, we keep in mind of only 2 people at a time sharing and discussing to avoid potential issues with having a quorum at a meeting.
I think what Rachel's saying, Marcia, is that they can't come back with recommendations. They can just talk about the goals themselves.
No, not at those meetings. The script will be developed for those meetings. The presentation will be developed for those meetings because we want the conversation to be consistent regardless of out. And that's what the committee will be working on and bringing back to the board feedback and adjustments, and then talking about the scheduling going out and presenting those things. But it's not collecting, and I would like that ask your legal person while she's there if that meets her guidelines of community presentation, 2 board members at a time, not a quorum, scripted and presented and very focused on sharing the goals of our teachers with the community.
So you're referring it to it as a committee. Is it just 2 random board members, or is it other people in the community or in the school that are part of this group as well?
Now, the ad hoc committee is 2 board members from this board that works with the coaches to develop these materials, create them, bring them back to the board for feedback, adjust them, and create a presentation that members and share and present with only 2 board members going at a time.
So it's a little gray. Personally, from a legal perspective, I would rather you just designate 2 people to sit on that. But I don't think the board has.
Well, they haven't, he hasn't appointed them. It was just,
It's not a standing or an informally
Yeah.
formed committee.
Right.
so it was just, and in
Maybe
fact,
later
Spencer
on.
didn't show up to two of the 4 meetings, so there was only one board member there, but.
And the concept of the ad hoc committee is the ad hoc committee is created for a purpose, a time frame, and a product, and then once that work is complete, the committee is disbanded.
Right, but the committee is bringing back recommendations for the board to act on, it sounds like. Which I think is kind of gray, and you could continue to do it the way you are, maybe, but it's probably better.
Right, and I think to clarify, what this wasn't even, this was just, basically just 10, 15 minutes explaining what is the legendary training. I think what she talked about is something that would be later on, when you do come with
Oh,
goal measures and all of that, and say, what do you think, do you have something to add? This was just, people say, well, what are your legendary training that you guys are talking about?
I was asked if I wanted to volunteer to basically go through these 3 things, explain them to a group of people that were interested, and that was it.
Right, it was just the goals, not even progress measures.
But I don't like,
Once it
I don't
gets
like
into more
grading
of what
either.
she's saying,
Yeah.
I would just,
I mean, honestly,
We haven't
Right.
gone there yet.
Yeah. Yeah, we hadn't gotten to that. This was just explanation. No, when we do that, I agree. When we're asking the public for their input and we bring it back, then I agree.
yeah, but even in the preliminary stages, I mean, I think we should just take it, like, from an optics perspective, it looks better to do it that way. I mean, why not just form a committee? You know,
I think it'll probably be the same 2 people that will then go to the next level.
it might be better to choose someone else, because I can never seem to make it, so.
Yeah. That I won't be till this fall, so yeah.
Okay, all right. Are we good with this?
Yeah.
sorry about that, thank you.
We'll move on then. Okay, we'll move on. Okay, so, I think I took care of everything here. We'll go to Dr. Lukens, your superintendent report.
Any questions regarding the superintendent report? You asked about the principal search? We start interviews tomorrow. Yeah, we've selected 4 candidates for interview.
Are all applicants being interviewed?
Yes.
All the applicants?
All the applicants that applied for interview, I believe there was one that withdrew, but all the applicants that applied are being interviewed.
Well, I still maintain, I think we should have 2 board members. And that is my opinion.
We have, I've already put out the interview packets. I'm fine with one.
Okay?
We could,
He's doing it, I'm not going to be here, so.
We can do 1 or 2,
I was trying to avoid the public meetings laws so that to protect the candidates. That's it. Because I agreed with Rachel, if you had 2 on there, you're basically appointing an ad hoc committee and you're having a formal meeting. And so I said, let's keep 1. And since the finance committee negotiates directly with the candidates, it's 1 member of the finance committee that would then be able to have some background when they hit the committee for negotiations. But I felt if we had 2, we should have a formal process. There should be an appointed, it's more, you're going to bring back a recommendation. So in the policy, it states it's the superintendent's job to bring back a recommendation to the board. It's the board's job to approve the contract. I just felt to keep it under the superintendent's purview, but not in a public meeting. I have 1 on the committee. Picked the finance committee because then it allowed them to have some background when they would come to contract negotiation.
Discussion?
Who's all on that again? There's 2 teachers from the elementary, 1 from the high school, Mr. Haas. board member and
Okay, are we good?
I mean, yeah. 1, 2, I really did.
Okay, all right, we'll move on then. Anything else for Dr. Lukens?
Yes, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Under the federal and state funding updates, it says you're working on Title I and Title V. What about Title III?
We haven't really been able to expense Title III yet. We can. Do you have a expense you'd like to put under Title III?
Or even if I got supposed
Some, I mean, yeah, but we were given an allotment for Title III, but you know, you have to, there's a process to go into title, and we haven't, we're in claim negotiation on all those things I brought forward to you. I haven't put in a claims for negotiation or had that done.
She has to be paid, first of all, too. So,
Contracts, yeah, that type of thing.
I was just curious because it wasn't listed there.
yeah, 'cause I think you were working on that today, right, Kristen? Yeah.
I actually remembered I have a question about the principal stuff too, is how many, so there's 4 applicants, how many of them are internal again? Did we know that? Like, 2 are internal, 2 are external? So, I was thinking about this, and I know I called you about this, and I wanted to float this too, it's like, I just thought, like, with this weird mid-year thing, so last month when we talked about it, like, what are we thinking here? Because I was thinking that, like, we had, say, an existing teacher with the right credentials that's interested, but are thinking, like, they're in a classroom right now, they can't just, like, leave their classroom. Like, that would be disencouraging to that person or something. I don't know. I
guess I would, I'm not on the committee, but I'm saying if I was, I wouldn't use that because we could, unfortunately, I would assume we would do like a long-term sub then or something to finish out the year.
Because I was thinking,
I wouldn't want it to
this is
hold
where
that
this thought
against
came
them.
from too, though, was we had said at the last thing, at the last meeting on the agenda, this was referenced as an interim elementary school principal. Is this going to be something like
That,
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
that was just at the very beginning when we talked about like when we accepted resignation, but then all of a sudden we got.
We had multiple applicants.
But principal search wasn't even on that agenda. And we took it from interim principal discussion to principal. Yes.
Well, because like I remember, so like I guess my question is like,
So you'd rather have an intern instead of getting some people that are, I would assume all 4 are willing to.
well, I was wondering like, how does this end up working? Like, because I've never been on the board where we've done this in the middle of the year. Like, are we gonna do like a however many month contract, or is that what we would offer? Or?
Yeah.
Prorated.
Yeah, prorated, so it's whatever, and then.
Before we get to that, we gotta like the applicants that we have. We gotta interview the applicants that we have, and then the board has to make a decision on the applicant. So this is all coming back to you for a vote as to future.
Yeah, I understand that. I was just
So,
asking
like-
some questions.
Right, it's just-
I just don't wanna get the cart
Like, I
before
think-
the horse here.
Yeah.
I know, but
I
I
would
just,
assume it would be like when we did hire the high school teacher for ELL, same thing, it's just a
yeah, well,
5-month contract.
but you know,
or
kind
whatever.
of get where I'm coming from though. I mean, like if I was a teacher,
Yeah,
I'm not, but if I was, and say I was teaching 3rd grade, I feel like I'd maybe have, like, say I had a master's and I was interested in this position potentially, like, I feel like it might be kind of a deterrent because I'd be like, well, I have a classroom, like, I can't just up and leave my classroom right now.
This is what I'm taking from what Spencer's saying. 2 things. First of all, it's possible that people didn't apply because of what he's saying. Second
Maybe
thing,
I'm wrong, but I just, you know, I had that thought to think about.
But we had 2 internal, but yeah.
Which is good, you know, I was thinking, because we have a lot of people internal that are like qualified, you know, and, yeah.
And the second thing is that when discussing with these principals, we can, when it comes to us, we can say that we're hiring interim. We can say this isn't, but that has to be, I mean, if they're being interviewed and they're being told this is for whatever, then there'll be an issue there, so I think that's something to consider.
You know, I mean, I'm like, don't get me wrong, like, I think that interviewing candidates is great and hearing from people and seeing what kind of candidates we have is good. That was a thought that I had, and I just wanted to bring it up for balloon discussion because I wasn't sure what some of the other thoughts were in that regard. So anything you're.
Well, right, yeah, we haven't had it before, and
So,
I
the
was
best we
grateful
can.
that we had 4 of them that want to do it full time.
I think what Dr. Wilkins is saying is we'll interview, and then the committee will come back and ask what, and give their recommendation, and then you have to make a decision, so.
Yep.
And ultimately, we'll fall back on you anyway, so,
But
okay?
as long as it's clear that we have the option of hiring them as an interim principal.
Okay,
You always have the ability to not renew their contract.
Yes, we do, but it's not very ethical to say to somebody, you know, we're hiring you for the unforeseeable future, and then say, yeah, actually, we're gonna do this as an interim position.
So if the interview committee comes with a bad applicant, and you then decide that applicant is not someone you want, you as a board have the ability, it's not a tenured position. So you have the ability to make it interim. You have the ability to explain it in negotiation at the directive of the board to the finance committee that we're really excited about you as a candidate, but just know that we will be renewing your contract at the end of the year. And so we're really, kind of thing, we're excited to have you come in and do your best. And that's your prerogative.
Can I add a perspective?
Go ahead.
Typically, I work with a lot of districts that do have to hire mid-year administrators, and typically they're given a contract that doesn't have continuing contract rights because it's after January 1st, and then it's up to the board whether or not they want to extend that for the next year. You can only give one-year contracts at a time, so you couldn't offer them a contract for the rest of this year and next year together. You'd have to only give them the rest of this year, and then the board would have to decide whether or not at that time, when contracts are available after March 1st, whether or not we want to continue them on.
okay. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and all that's understood. I was just.
Okay.
only
All right,
because
good,
I was
good,
hoping
good.
Nobody was discouraged.
Yep, I think everybody's, just let's make sure everybody's got everything they want to say. All right, Mr. Cass? Oh, you're done?
I got notes.
Yep, that's all right. You are still on the floor, ma'am.
It's paraprofessional compensation review, can you explain?
Yeah, there was a written review and request from Korea to the finance committee that I forwarded on, asking that they review their compensation for professionals. Anything that the board, I feel that anything you've told the committee, make sure you put it in your report to the public so that the whole board has a chance to know what you're communicating out. That's why. It has not been put on a committee agenda meeting, but it has been communicated to the committee.
Maybe we would talk about that during like negotiations or something. I mean, when we start, we would do that as a board or something.
One more thing, bus driver recruitment, you said full-time hire pending board approval, but we're not approving anybody. Is that fall through, or what's the?
It's still on the agenda from the past, just so you know. Like, there's a bus driver ad in the paper, and it just keeps running. If we were to have a bus driver person come in that wants full-time employment, just reiterating the fact that you have the ability to hire them, because the other half of that position would then be outside of the budget, and I would come through with that because.
But you don't have a potential person pending board approval?
No. That would.
Sorry about that.
That's, I think right now we have seasonal.
I didn't mean to cut you off, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I just assumed that. Okay, so then we will now move to Principal Haas.
So, before I ask if there's any questions, I have Ms. Alicia Olson here to talk a little bit about what she's doing in high school.
Do I have to come up there?
Yes. Front and center, young lady. Huh? Front and center.
Okay, so for those of you that don't know, I teach special ed here at the high school. I also teach 6th grade special ed. And I started teaching peer-to-peer this year. So the last time we had this class was in 2021, and that was taught by Trista Zare before she took our SPED unit director position. Sorry. So I started the year with 13 students. They're all freshmen, and when we talked with the scheduling committee last year, we thought this would be the best way to grow the program. So peer-to-peer, the biggest goal is that we're promoting inclusion for students with disabilities, all students in our school. We work on relationship building and accepting differences. So my kids have had a lot of projects this year. They've done a lot of monthly activities. In September, we made a puzzle piece poster out in the Commons, and our theme was Welcome to Harvey High, where everybody fits in. So they've really worked on how do you talk to people, how do you get to know people. In October, we participated in the trunk or treat. So we invited our peer mentees, which are our students with disabilities, and we handed out candy at First Lutheran Church, so that was really fun. In November, we did a free movie night here. We showed the Peanut Butter Falcon. If you ever get a chance to see it, great movie. We had 46 kids come, grades 7 through 9. And the peer-to-peer kids, with our mentees, we sold pop and popcorn, which we used later to buy ornaments and cookie supplies for our December event. January, we went bowling in Minot. We actually did that the first Sunday in February, but we took some kids up. They bowled for 2 hours, ate pizza, played games. FCCLA kind of went with us on that because this class prompted 2 of my students to come up with a star event for including people with disabilities. So we worked with FCCLA to do bowling and then peer-to-peer pay for pizza. We just did a project which you can actually see in my room when you leave. If you walk down the hallway and look up at the glass windows, we did a project called Take a Walk in Someone Else's Shoes. So they had to get to know their mentees and design a shoe to like show everything about who they're getting to know. So we've had a lot of positive feedback. Like I said, the 2 kids are doing a star event, which I think has turned out really great. We had a bunch of kids go to Night to Shine. They actually recruited over 20 kids to volunteer at Night to Shine this year, so that was really awesome. Because there's kids that come from Devil's Lake and New Rockford, and it was a really great time. So that's what I've been working on. I'm trying to get kids to understand that, students with disabilities are just people like everybody else, and they just sometimes need a little bit of help, or they just need another person to just say, hey, come hang out with me, let's do some fun stuff. So we've had kids go to events that normally don't do anything. So we had 3 kids go bowling with us who have probably never been to a basketball game or went to watch a wrestling match or anything like that. So that's just what I've been doing. It's been a lot of fun. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your excellent work.
Thank you.
And I also want to point out that at Educators Conference this year, the whole feature was on peer-to-peer, and I was very proud that you'd already started it, you were already doing it, you were already working through it, and we were ahead of the game. So thank you.
I say Trista bullied me into doing it, but I like it. So.
Yeah.
She convinced. Tim was so convinced.
Any questions from my board?
Like you said, nothing else I did.
Well, it was before it was 50 below, yeah. So it's kind of been, it felt like spring was around the corner, and now we're back in winter.
Any more questions?
Don't have any problems with attendance, because I know we've been so sick. Is it getting a little better since you did this, or it's still?
Nope, and I go back, I've got a kid who's a sophomore who's been sick since the beginning of January. He's been to the doctor multiple times and can't take it. Mike probably referenced it in his letter. We had 7 of our 12 starters not able to compete in the regional wrestling tournament this past weekend. So it's not like it's not that it's just a game. It was a regional qualifier. That's how sick these kids are. So when people in the community hear these kids are sick, they're skipping out on events that they've worked all year for. So I mean, it is what it is, and we roll with it. And as soon as they come back, our teachers are really good about getting them up to speed and working with them to get caught up. And it's just last year and this year we've been hit hard right around Christmas, and I don't know. The kids are good about it, the teachers are good about it, so that helps. But
It's better than it was last year, isn't it?
it is, but it just seems so prolonged in the kids. So last year we had kids would be out for maybe 2 days, now they're out a week at a time, and it's taken them 2-3 weeks to recover.